Right? Good evening and welcome to Suffering and Silence with Pastor Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love Bay family, we are rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening, we're going to be talking about celebrity violence and assault, celebrity domestic violence. We have with us our co-host Jennifer Peterkin, who is the host of The Human Experience, which is also a program on Love Bay. We have Minister Ayanah Marks and Mark Daria, who brings knowledge in the area of human trafficking, among others. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or our co-host, you can email us at sufferingandsilencedv@gmail.com. You can also text your questions, your thoughts to 437-778-3299. And we want to also ask that you please remember to like, to share, to subscribe via whichever platform you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you have any resources that you want to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, any local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferingandsilencedv@gmail.com. And with that, Jen, I'm going to ask if you would go first with greeting our listeners and viewers on tonight.
Sure. Hello, Love Bay. It's so great to be back. I have not been on this show for quite a while. Life has just been very busy. Been traveling a lot. So I'm happy to be back home, as it were, and be able to join Tia and friends on the show this evening. As he said, my name is Jennifer Peterkin. I am a domestic violence survivor and advocate, which ultimately led me to starting my own show, my own podcast called The Human Experience, where I interview people about the moments in their lives that have shaped who they are.
Thank you so much, Jen. Ayanah, would you do the same with greeting our listeners and viewers on tonight?
Good evening, Love Bay viewers. I hope that you guys enjoy the segment that we have for you tonight. I hope that you get a lot of information. I hope that you get to be able to understand our point of views, and I hope that you guys just get the experience that you guys deserve.
Thank you so much. And Mark?
Good evening, Love Bay. Great to be back again. Great to see friends and colleagues, and looking forward to an engaging evening, as always, on a very interesting topic. I think we're going to make some headway here on some very interesting things.
Mm-hmm. So, Love Bay, I want to give a shout out to Erin in her absence. She couldn't be with us on tonight. Erin has some personal things that she needs to attend to, but we want to remember her on tonight. So as usual, we want to share some resources. If we are still in a process of raising funds for our nonprofit, Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. If you would like to help us do that, you can visit our GoFundMe page, look for Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. You can donate that way. You can write a check out to Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. We are at P.O. Box 15, Drexel Hill, PA 19026. You can also purchase Suffering in Silence, my book, which I've written to tell my story of surviving domestic violence. We use proceeds from that to help in our endeavors, which consist of transitional resources. We help with immediate and emergency funding when we can to help individuals dealing with issues pertaining to domestic violence, being able to move on in their life, being able to leave one location to get to another, which is a safe space, helping with transportation, helping with the cost of doctor visits, medical supplies, utilities, rent and mortgage, whatever we can do financially, that is our aim to help with. I want to share the Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. To find a helpline by your country, you can visit their website, befrienders.org. We have the Polaris Project, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Their number is 1-888-373-7888, or you can text the words Be Free, BEFREE. You can text the words Be Free to the number 233-733. And their website is polarisproject.org. And Polaris is POLARIS. In the United States, we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their website is thehotline.org. Their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. And then we have the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Their number is 800-656-4673. Or you can chat online at online.rainn.org. Their website is rainn.org, RAINN.org. So with that, we move into our topic on tonight, celebrity violence and assault. And I stay away from celebrity issues dealing with domestic violence. Unless I'm making a specific point or I'm taking part in a specific conversation, I never get into the celebrity part. I don't deal with the names and things like that. But what is bothering me right now, and what has been bothering me for some time, is not the celebrities themselves. And we can mention Sean Combs, Robert Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, Jimmy Savile, situations where abuse has been proven. So I don't think I need to use the word allegedly right now. But what bothers me is that the level of abuse carried out by these people could not have been done without others knowing about it. It could not have been done without others helping them. And it could not have been done without others covering it up. So, and I want to be very clear and very straightforward, very honest right now. I feel something right now. I feel my emotions right now. I've been always honest when I'm dealing with domestic violence. I am one-sided. I don't play devil's advocate. I am pro-victim. I am pro-survivor. I don't try to look at the other side for any reason. There is no other side to me. So I'm being straightforward and honest with that as we start this conversation. But this has really been something that has just been getting on my nerves. And I understand that there are cases where some victims are forced or manipulated or coerced in some kind of way to help the abuser in some cases. But it is really, really hard for me to accept that everyone around these people were victims themselves, forced to become an accomplice. This is an issue that I don't have the words to clearly explain, but I'm very agitated about it because there is no way. Robert Kelly is a functioning illiterate. He did not book flights across the United States to get victims to his home or to hotels or whatever. He didn't do that by himself. Somebody helped with that. There's somebody who helped arrange these hotels and get these people there, to get these men and women and young ladies there. Somebody helped do that. So, and I understand he's sitting in a prison right now, but he shouldn't be sitting by himself in a prison. And I cannot wrap my mind around it. I cannot understand how there are individuals who just stand by. It's like if you have money and fame, that just gives abusers access to the most vulnerable. Money and fame gives you access to the poor. Money and fame gives you access to children and to the elderly or to women, just to do whatever you want to do. And what I don't get is that there are others who have the same, if not equal to or more, money and fame and power, who do nothing, who are watching this happen or who are helping them. And for what? Because this is your friend, because you don't want to get involved, you don't want to have anything to do with it, you don't want it to affect your record sales. or your athletic career, I'm bothered. I am. And I'm not even going to say it's a righteous, holy anger and try to clean it up and try to make myself sound good or anything like that. I'm just really ticked off right now. I am, because I don't understand it. So it's like, no matter what level you on, if you're this, the person next door in the neighborhood, nobody knows your name, nobody wants to help you. If it's you're on a public stage, nobody wants to help you. I don't understand that. I don't. I don't understand how you get to that point in society where you do have power, you do have influence, you are able to make some changes, and you don't. That will never make sense to me. Never. So for me, that is what came to me when I thought of the issue of dealing with celebrity violence and the assault. Really, not the abusers themselves, but for you to be at that level, committing crimes that you are committing, somebody knows about it and somebody is helping. And I just don't believe that everybody who is helping or complicit can say, I was a victim and I was forced to do it. So that's where I am with this. So I don't know if, everybody else, you have a thought or, what came to you with this topic, but that's where I am. And I don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't have any answers other than to say I'm just really pissed off. Like I don't have an answer because, like, Jen, like what we do, like we talk to individuals, we talk to clergy, like we do public events, like we're there, we're sharing the information, we're trying to teach, we're bringing the knowledge and awareness. What else can we do? It's like, I can't give you courage, I can't give you a backbone, I can't give you a spine if you don't have one. I'll stop there.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think I do think it's a righteous anger, personally, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I would even go a step further and just say that, what came to me for this topic was the fact that, I mean, for all of the people you mentioned, it had to be years and years and the preponderance of evidence that had to be put forward. And there are still people that don't believe that these abusers did what they did. There are still people that think that these men are innocent, that think that, it's just some women and some people in general, to be fair, who are trying to make a buck off of their fame or, get some money out of them. And it's just, to me, it really speaks to how little progress we've made culturally around domestic violence and assault, that even with so much evidence and so many victims, that there can still be this doubt. And it's about this specific issue. I would say there's no other issue that we deal with in this way that carries such a stigma of doubt around it. And so it's really frustrating as an advocate to constantly be playing this game of, you've already said it, Tia, you stand with the victims. And it's incredibly frustrating to constantly be playing this game of, like, just because the law hasn't caught up to what constitutes domestic violence and assault, especially in cyberspace, doesn't mean that these things aren't wrong and that they shouldn't be held accountable for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like there are a couple of these cases. Sean Combs, Robert Kelly, R. Kelly. And I know the trial is still going on for Sean Combs. But there's a video of him physically assaulting beating a woman. Cassie,
Mm-hmm.
I believe her name is. There's a video, and there are still people saying there has to be more to the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's a video. There are videos with Robert Kelly. If you can present a video to people, I don't have to open my mouth, I don't have to say anything. Play this video right here. You can play this video and see what is happening, and I'm still not believed. Something is still wrong. I'm still just out to get money. You can't see in this video. And the man admitted to it. He did whatever apology he tried to do, however he tried to justify it. Okay, so now he admitted to it. All right, forget about the ongoing trials. This video right here, this assault right here, this abuse right here. And you're telling me that there is still doubt in what happened? And I will never believe that for that incident right there, that nobody knew that woman was in that hotel and she needed help.
Sure.
Before whatever happened on that video. I will not be convinced that nobody else knew that she was in there and nobody else knew what was going on and what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm just, Mark, you want
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking that I apparently have a much lower standard of people than either of you. I mean, I'm thinking of the words of Lord Acton, 19th century historian, keep going through my head. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what we're looking at, I mean, it's a multifaceted discussion, but I mean, what we're looking at is the people themselves who have reached a level of success in society that through money and power and influence that have opened doors to in politics and universities and in think tanks, that it's less about the individual. I agree with what you're saying, Tia. It's more about the people that are around them that enable, that facilitate. And I'm not going to say every single one of them knows everything all the time about everything. That's not fair. But certainly there are many. I think of Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein. It was Hollywood's open secret what was going on with this guy. And yet you have celebrities who were not assaulted by him who said they knew it, and it never happened to them, so they never said anything. And I guess what resonates with me, coming from a political and a historical side of it, is I think of all the people in Nazi Germany, who knew what the Nazis were doing, lived down the street from Auschwitz, and Buchenwald and Dachau, and said, well, I can't tell you what's happening there. I don't know because I've never been inside and seen it. Okay, true. But, just simple math. If you're seeing the trains go in with hundreds of people coming out empty, and then tomorrow hundreds more are going in, something's happening. There's just not that much space in a confined area to hold that many people. So something's going on. So I think that this, obviously it's not the same level, but it's just as horrific. It's people turning a blind eye because it doesn't affect me. And that kind of comes to the crux of it. And with so much of what we talk about in this program is empathy, is the ability to reach out and put yourself in another person's position and say, what is going on? What is happening? And would I tolerate this? Would I tolerate this for my wife? Would I tolerate it for my daughter? Would I tolerate it for my mother? And the answer is clearly no. So why would you tolerate it for the waitress at the bar, the person who's bagging your groceries, the person at the checkout stand? Why would you do this? And we have to, as a society, have to overcome the mentality of it doesn't affect me. So that's the first part. So empathy is a huge part of this. That we've just got to. Another part of it is too is as a society we worship celebrity, right? No one questions success. If you've got millions of dollars, hey, I want to be your friend. So okay, you can do things for me. And so even if it's just a pat on the head and getting invited to the fancy parties, I get to say I was at such and such a shindig. So there's a lot of we got to check ourselves. There's a lot of things that are going on. We've got to look inside of ourselves and ask ourselves some serious questions about what we're willing to live with and what we're willing to tolerate. So, I mean, that's where I'd come off on. This is off the top of my head.
Yes. So, Ayanah, I want to ask you a question. First, I do not know him, but I want to give kudos to John Legend, because I remember John Legend being very, very vocal about the issues with Robert Kelly. So, I thank him for doing that. Thank you for anybody else who used their platform and who was not afraid of backlash or losing something. I appreciate them for what it is that they did. And to be honest, there are issues when you do stand up. There are times you will lose something. Sometimes you will lose people on your side. Sometimes you won't get invited to the parties. Sometimes the door will be closed. If you stand up for what is right, you do the right thing, or you stand up or speak up for those who can't stand up and speak up for themselves, sometimes you will lose something. So I don't want to throw an idea out there like everything will be okay if you stand for the right thing and everything will be cool. No, sometimes you will face some issues, but my God, I'd rather be facing issues instead of knowing that there are women and children being sexually abused and beaten and trafficked and not saying anything because I'm afraid to lose record sales or some kind of recognition. So again, shout out to those who do use their names, who use their platforms to speak out against issues like this. But Ayanah, I want to specifically ask you, when we're dealing with and talking about celebrity status, do you find that young people are so starstruck that they refuse to believe that their favorite artist or favorite athlete is an abuser or rapist or sex trafficker? Do you see that among your age group?
Absolutely. I see it on social media, in real life. Like, it's displayed everywhere, and it's so normalized now to hold a celebrity at a higher standard than you will hold anybody else. But I don't think my generation realized that a celebrity is just a regular person. Like, it's just a regular person who may have more money in their pockets, a bigger house, nice cars. But at the end of the day, they are just regular people who do regular people things. But you shouldn't hold them at a higher standard than you would like even hold God. Basically, like, you shouldn't look at them as your God, because when you start looking at them as your God, then it's like you have nothing. Like, I don't know how to say it, but you just like, it's the dumbest thing you can do. It's the dumbest decision you can make, to look at a celebrity as like your God, or to make a celebrity play a role as your God, so you can't see no wrong in what they doing. You think everything that they doing is right. You think everything that they saying is right. And it's just like, you getting your information wrong. You're going out and telling other people this information, and it's like, now everybody getting fed false lies and false narratives, and now they got to get their own research, and they got to get their own information back to realize that you done told a lie that you believe from a celebrity that you hold at a higher standard.
And it's we are the examples that young people have. They're watching us. So if they're in college, they're in high school, they're watching what older people are doing. I have seen individuals in their 30s and 40s and 50s who it would be like they just like they know R. Kelly, like they know him, and it's like there's nothing with all this evidence, like there is nothing that could be said, and they just fight tooth and nail. Why? Because he can sing. because he wrote some beautiful songs, because he produced some music with some artists that is just absolutely wonderful. But that gives him a pass to sexually abuse all these little girls. I Jen,
I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. The parasocial relationships that we have gotten so used to now is really alarming. And I think it's because of the advent of social media. I mean, that always existed to a degree, but it got so much easier with social media when you were seeing your favorite singers and actors and, you know, whatever online doing things outside of the normal context of like watching a movie or going to a concert, and you were seeing them be quote unquote normal, you know, and in the back of your mind you may understand that it's still very curated, but it feels good. It feels like you are getting to know this person. And it's incredibly harmful because the reality is that you're not, since all social media is curated, regardless of who you are. And so the feeling of this intense loyalty and this adoration and worship that comes from being able to access people in this way, I think is so detrimental to our own mental health for multiple reasons, but this isn't a small one of those reasons. And I feel like we've seen it over and over and over again where something happens in the public sphere and people are taking these like huge sides and stances. And it's like, at the end of the day, you don't actually know what happened, first of all. But second of all, the lengths with which we're willing to go to quote unquote protect somebody that we don't actually know and we don't actually have a relationship with, because we think we know them. There's nothing in that for us, but it feels like we're contributing to this relationship. And it's so, so, so harmful. And I have seen it. I mean, I've seen every age, every gender, like everybody do it on some level. But I think it's made even the talks around domestic violence and abuse and assault even that much harder.
yeah.
Because while you would think that it would highlight issues and it would allow people to talk more freely, I think it's done actually quite the opposite in a lot of ways.
Yes. And so it appears that there are many individuals who are drawing their self-worth from fantasy. They're drawing their self-worth from the celebrity of these individuals, as you said, we don't know. But then also, I believe that those in these particular cases who were close enough, and not all, Mark, as you said before, not all, but there are, I believe, individuals who are drawing self-worth from being around these people, so much so to the point that they're willing to be quiet and watch these things happen or not do what they can to step in. Mark?
I like the way the conversation's going because it's hitting on a very good theme, and that is where are we coming from on this? And we as creatures, we as individuals, we like to be part of a greater whole. And that's what we are. We choose our teams, right? We do this with sports, we do it with our politics. We do it with everything, that's my guy, that's my gal, and they can do. And once we sign up, once we put our name on that piece of paper, then they can no longer do any wrong, because after all, then I'd have to be in error and I can't be wrong. So I couldn't possibly have chosen the wrong side because I'm too smart for that. So, so this is where we've got to take that step back, and it's okay, to aspire to, something bigger, something to say, hey, that's my team, that's my whatever. at it with a frank, honest look and say, you know what, no one is right all the time.
Right.
So, and that's just on the small stuff. Now, when we start getting into things like child molestation and beatings and rape, there's no right in there at all. There's no correct position in any of that. So again, but it is amazing. It's a reflection on our own psychology and on an individual level, and what we're looking for. And at the same time, we can't expect individuals to measure up to whatever standard we may hold them to. People, as Jennifer was saying, that people are people, or Ayanah, I think it was whoever said it, I don't remember now. But people are people. They're gonna misstep. And the higher they're up on the pedestal, the more visible the fall is going to be. And when they do misstep, we've got to be able to say, wow, okay, I was in error. I made a mistake. I put too much faith in that person. No, the person, by just simply being a person, means they're not a god.
Yes.
So we're not worshiping. We should not be worshiping individuals. We can admire some of the things that they've done that are positive, but we can never put our faith in an individual, any individual.
Yes. And I want to take a moment, and I want to say that we full well understand that there are some situations dealing with domestic violence where you do have to be careful of your own safety. But there are also situations where there's always the situation where you can report abuse, you can report a crime anonymously. You can make a phone call to the police, you can make a phone call to counselors, to domestic violence agencies. You can report what you see and not give your name. So the notion that, well, I just don't want to get involved, I don't want to have anything to do with it, and you just do nothing at all, I'm just there's no excuse. There's no excuse for that. And then when you get to the point when you're dealing with, as you said, Mark, corrupted power corrupts power. I know that there are more issues than maybe we know of. Maybe there are some more issues than maybe we understand. So when you get to the powers that be, there's red tape and cover-ups. I get that. I understand that. But just on the very, very basic level of decency, basic standards, just to do the right thing, you can do that. You can call the police. You can file a report. You can call the child helpline. There is something that can be done. And I think there are just too many people who are not doing it, who actually know what to do and who can. But, like as you said with Harvey Weinstein, Mark, there are people who knew what was going on, but hey, it didn't happen to me. So, hey, I'll just keep it moving. So there are avenues to take where you don't have to give your name.
I think it's an interesting distinction too, just about what Mark was saying, is that I totally agree. We want to be part of community. We are built for it. And we definitely don't want to be wrong. But I would say it's a really interesting dynamic that we want to be part of a community until we have to take responsibility for something. And then we want to be individuals. And it's a really difficult line to walk, but I do feel that the more we steer ourselves towards community and steer ourselves towards taking responsibility for that community, the more we are able to be accountable to each other and actually have, I don't know, just actually live out the values that we espouse. And I think there was a show that I was listening to years ago, and it was talking about this town that this is a terrible story because I can't remember a lot of the details, but what they were saying, what they were talking about was this town had a man in the town. It was actually more of a village, I guess. It was a village that had this man that had committed a heinous crime, and the village, instead of like punishing him corporally or like, you know, throwing him in prison, they all kind of mourned this status as a community and said, like, where did we go wrong that he felt like this was okay behavior, like this was going to fly basically in our community? And that community responsibility really has the allows for an opportunity to strengthen and grow. But I understand that it's not, you know, it is somewhat of an ideal, but I think that it does speak to the fact that if we choose to be accountable to each other, and not just for our individual actions, but for, like what you're saying, Tia, what we know to be wrong, and to speak out against it, that's where change comes from.
Yeah. So, Ayanah, speaking of change, as a young person, and I don't want to put the entire world of young people on your shoulders, but as a young person, seeing what you see from adults, how adults can praise and validate celebrities in an unhealthy way, how adults can make the wrong decisions. For you, is this affecting you in any kind of way on your thoughts, your feelings, the actions that you would take to know to be right and wrong, going in the right direction? Like, as a young person, do you already have enough within you to stand on your 2 feet? Or are we messing up so bad that we're affecting you? We're affecting your judgment.
I always say this. I'm thankful to be raised like with like loving and caring parents. I'm so thankful for that, because being raised with loving and caring parents, it showed me, you know, to love people as you want to be loved, you know, to accept people as you want to be accepted, you know, to understand people, you know, put yourself in other people's shoes and you'll see like how life is different for everybody else. But I don't think, well, sometimes the way adults act nowadays are like effective upon me, because it's like, if you act like this, then I know how your child acts, like, because I see that a child picks up behavior from their parents. Their parents are their first teacher, so a child picks up their behavior from their first parent, from their parents. So the way an adult acts can also like how can I say this? It can shape the way their child is acting, and then, you know, the way the child act, they take it to school, they take it in their friend circles, and then it's like it causes a whole chain of events that don't need that, like that don't need to happen or occur. And also, I feel like adults nowadays, they with the celebrity situation, they think since a celebrity is, they knew a celebrity for so long, it's like, oh, this person can never do this person can never do that, oh, they lying about this, they lying about that, and, you know, they trying to create, you know, a social media story and stuff like that. But it's like, this was happening even before some of our children was even born. So it's like they put it in their music, they put it in their music videos, they showed you in broad daylight, like, this is their character, this is who they are, this is what they doing behind closed doors. And so many people didn't want to take it and believe it. Like, so many people did not want to believe that R. Kelly was the person that he is. So many people did not want to believe that Diddy is the way that he is. And it's like, even today during the Diddy trial, so many adults will really look and be like, oh no, this is like, Diddy's gonna win. This is all fake. This all not real. They making up stories. They going back on their stories. You know, their stories not matching up. And it's like, the evidence was right there. Even before your kids was born, the evidence was right there. And you still chose to look past it. And it's like, you turning a blind eye towards a celebrity. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like,
Yeah.
your child gonna turn a blind eye towards somebody that's doing wrong. Like, this person not doing wrong. My parents normalizing it, so I'm gonna normalize it. And it's like, it's causing a chain of events that don't need to occur.
Yes. So thank you. Ayanah always has. Thank you so much for that. So as you were talking, I thought of this point, and Mark, I would, if you could, like you to just expand on this thought. I was really thinking that we need to take a look at the circle of people around us. If they're is somebody in your circle who you see is abusive, who you see has committed acts of sexual violence, who you see is verbally and mentally hurting someone else. If you have a person like that or people like that around you, I really believe that's a reflection of you in some kind of way. Like there is something that draws you to the type of people that you are spending time with. So even if you are not committing the acts that they are committing, if you are there and you're silent about it, if you can be okay with letting him or her do what they do and you don't say anything about it, it's not phasing you. I would say that something's off. I mean, something's off with all those people who just did not say anything. And again, I just do not believe that everyone was a victim turned forced accomplice. I don't believe that that was the case. But again, Mark, that was my thought, that you need to take a look at the circle of people around you, because in some way, good or bad, I believe that's a reflection of yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you look at it from a 100,000-foot level, to go back to what I was saying before, I mean, I think we want to associate ourselves with people who we define as successful, whatever that may be, whatever that means to you. We want to associate with that and be part of that. And so we get it when we get patted on the head, whatever that may be, invited to the parties, etc. We feel vindicated and we feel just that. Then we have a false sense of loyalty, right? Because after all, they're treating me well. So how could they possibly be doing bad things to other people? But again, I think at the crux of this is, let's level that whole playing field, right? Because who is taken advantage of? This is a topic we've had many discussions about in here, in this forum, and it's the weaker people. It's the people who are marginalized. It's the people on the outskirts. It's not the people who are at the center of it all. They're treated relatively well. Epstein's and Weinstein's not withstanding. I mean, because they exploited pretty much anybody they could, but very few get to that level of power that they can just do whatever they want whenever they want. So there's usually some kind of a manipulation that goes on, and we've talked about this in here too. It's a mindset, and what I mean by leveling that playing field is each of us has to look at individuals as every other individual on the planet, as unique and a special individual, a gift. And that none of these people, I mean, who gets hurt? Sex workers? Who reports a sex worker being raped? After all, that's their trade. No, it's not their trade. They didn't sign up to be raped. But nobody's going out on a limb for a sex worker. No one's going out on a limb for the voiceless, for those who can't speak for themselves. No one, and I'm broad brushing this. It's not no one. There are plenty of people that are advocating for them and going out on the limb, but I'd probably say that's the minority. That's a lesser number than people who just simply turn their head and walk down the road and continue going, because they're going to stop it if it's someone in their orbit, a kid, a niece, whatever. But they're less inclined to do it for someone they don't know. And that's human nature. And we've got to get past that aspect of human nature that is willing to say, you're not part of my team, so I don't really care what happens to you. And we've got to look at it as everyone in the human race is part of the human race. We're all on that team, like it or not. That's what we are. We're all part of the same thing. And any differences that we have are so minute and so inconsequential that they do not matter. And we've got to get our heads in that place. And I don't think everybody's on board with that.
Yes. And, Jen, and the advocacy work that we do and have done, we state clearly all the time domestic violence does not discriminate.
Mhm.
Race has nothing to do with it. Gender, education, money has nothing to do with it. So if you are poor and homeless, or if you hold a C-suite position in a Fortune 500, domestic violence will find you. It does not matter. So you cannot look at a woman and say, well, he's paying your rent $10,000 a month. You should be okay. No, I don't care what kind of car you drive, what kind of clothes you wear, the jewelry that you have. Domestic violence is not okay because a man can afford to put me in a Mercedes Benz. So you get to bruise my body and I wear makeup because I'm in a pretty car, because you can control my every move, your bodyguards, your assistants, your whatever, because you have this at your fingertips. That makes it okay. So again, at what point do we understand people are people? Individuals mean something, no matter how old or how young you are. You mean something. Your life matters. And because you want to trade places, or you want to live in a mansion with someone physically beating you up day and night just for the sake of living in a mansion, that's twisted. That is really some twisted thinking right now. I have heard women say, I would trade places with X, Y, and Z so I can drive a car like that, so I can go and eat in fancy restaurants, or so I can be in a picture with other celebrities. That is horrible thinking. That speaks more of your mental thoughts on yourself, your self worth, your self esteem. That speaks to how deplorable and how low you think of yourself, to literally say you would trade places with another person because you can fly out to France to have lunch and then come back. That's twisted. We really need to understand. Mark, I know we will not eradicate society of domestic violence and sexual assault. I know that that is wishful thinking. But I'm telling you, I honestly believe we should be and could be doing so much better. And I think it starts with individuals taking accountability and responsibility for themselves. Stop looking to a celebrity to have a life. You're living your life through a person who you don't know, will never meet, will never spend time with. You're living your life through movies and videos and songs. How about you get your own life? How about you develop yourself? How about you move through and acquire education or a trade, something, a hobby? Do something for you, build yourself instead of settling, living a life through a television or a movie screen. I really think we have to go back to the beginning and start with ourselves individually. And then hopefully, if we can do what we need to do, we'll be able to start being the right examples we need to be for our kids and young people, because they're doing what we do. Mark, you wanted to say
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, the point was brought up earlier about social media and the role that it's playing, and we could go on for that for hours. But it is very interesting because I've noticed a thing just that I've gone through on Facebook, and I know I'm an old guy, right? I'm still on Facebook. And I don't get on it very often, but about once a week I go in and check and see what's going on. And if you like something that has something to do with a movie or something, then the next day you've got 80 different tags of who the actors are, and follow me, and you've got the picture of the actor, the actress, and you sign up, and you'll be talking to them. Well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I'm going to be talking to some of these people because they're dead, right? So I don't know how Facebook's got that wrapped up, but somebody should be checking into that because they've got a real good hotline going on. But it is scary because you think of catfishing, right? I mean, you think of something that, so if I am seeking that kind of validation through somebody, and I see and a thing pops up, follow me on my site. and oh, okay, that's great. I'm going to be best friends with, I don't know, Joni Mitchell. I don't care, make up whoever it is. I'm going to go ahead and be their friend. And so I've never done it because I look at it and I laugh. But as I'm thinking about it, somebody's probably responding, and who is that somebody? And how long is it going to be before they start asking me for money or whatever? And I get to I get to tell them, well, I'm friends with, Olivia Newton-John. I'm friends with, John Travolta. I'm friends with somebody. No, you're not. These aren't even real. And so, it's this mindset of us trying to associate with fame. We've got to get away from this. We've got to get away from it. But then also just a little discernment. For crying out loud, let's just be smart about this. I'm telling you, no actor, no actress, no sports figure, no politician is sending me emails. Yeah. They've got other things to be doing, and it isn't talking to me. And that's not because I don't have self-worth. It's because I'm self-realized. Anyway, wow. How to get that out.
Well, thank you so much. I know we're close. We're just under the hour, and I probably started the conversation and went a different direction than what you guys were thinking. And like, we can come back and do this another way to follow, your thoughts and the things that you guys wanted to share. But I think the last thing that I wanted to say is that the same way that we can look at a victim of domestic violence, you can pinpoint that there is something lacking in your life somewhere. If you are in a position of being abused mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, if you are being abused, you can pinpoint there was somewhere in that person's life where something is lacking, something is broken. And I would dare to say that if you find yourself in a position where you are helping an abuser in any kind of way, if you are helping them cover up, if you are helping them to get victims, if you are helping in any kind of way, I would say that there was also something lacking and something broken in that person's life. And that is something I believe attention needs to be brought to. You can't force anyone to get help. You can't force anyone to look in the mirror and say, hey, this is my issue or whatever. But I really believe in order for so many people to watch, and these are just individual celebrities that, we just know of. But for so many people to watch what they did and either do nothing or actually help them, something in those people's lives, I believe, has to be lacking and broken, because there's absolutely no excuse there's just no excuse to allow or to help in something like that. And I believe that there are some individuals more than Sean Combs that need to be on trial right now. And I believe that there are individuals more than R. Kelly that need to be sitting in the prison with him, because there's no way that they did what they did without help. So, but that's my thought. That's my final thought on it. I know it was a lot. Again, I know this was my emotional part, which I don't hide. It is what it is. But Jen and Mark, I would ask you guys to give us your final words on tonight, and definitely we can continue this conversation and pick it up in different ways, because we could go a million ways with this. But Jen, I would ask for you to go first. And we're having some issues with Ayanah's audio, so I do want to thank her for being with us and for what she added on tonight. But Jen, if you would give us your final words.
Sure. I think it's an extremely worthwhile conversation, and I actually really appreciate the way that you took this, because I think one of the biggest things in terms of like looking towards celebrity with domestic violence is there are some times where we want to pick sides when we really don't have all of the information, and we need to be careful about thinking we know something that we don't actually know. But there are a lot of times also where the evidence is clear, the evidence is there, and we need to face reality and just admit that these people aren't who we want them to be or who we've imagined them to be in our heads. And I would just say in general, because this is more than just a celebrity issue, we have a huge issue. We have a huge problem as a society in naming abusive people that we are in relationship with or that we like, and especially if we are not the primary ones experiencing the abuse. So, we want to brush things off as not that serious or not that big of a deal, but the reality is that people are suffering every single day. People are not making it through their days because of how bad this gets. And it is, and anybody that has experienced it firsthand can tell you that. But I've said this before, Tia, we've said this before. We promise you know somebody that has experienced domestic violence. If you yourself have not experienced it, you know somebody that has, probably pretty intimately. And so it's important to be able to name and call that out, and to, not just where celebrities are concerned, but in your everyday life, because it's happening there as well.
Yes. So Ayanah is cool now with her audio. So Mark, I'm going to ask Ayanah to go first. Ayanah, give us your final thoughts for this evening, and then Mark will close us out.
I hope that you guys enjoyed our segment. I hope that you guys got a lot of valuable information out of it to, see all the different point of views, and to be able to, understand, the severity of situations, especially with celebrities. I just hope that you guys continue to use your voice. Don't just sit back and be quiet when you know that something is going wrong. Always speak up and use your voice, even when it's like nobody want to believe you. There's always somebody out there that's going to believe you. There's always somebody out there that, has the same story that you has, or has the same experience that you have. So, don't be afraid to, share it out. Don't be afraid to speak out. Don't be afraid to lend a helping hand, because, people do suffer in silence, whether that's celebrities or whether that's just people in our everyday lives. They do suffer in silence. So please don't be afraid to, reach out, lend a helping hand, see if someone needs words of encouragement. Never be afraid to love people. Never be afraid to help people out. Just never be afraid to, spread kindness and love, because we really need that in today's world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ayanah. Mark?
Just sitting here thinking that there, but for the grace of God go I, right? I mean, if we don't have that perspective of a level playing field, that each individual has an unseen and unknowable wealth and worth. If we don't acknowledge that, we too can become those people who think that they're above the law and can exploit certain people and not exploit others. Our circle of friends can be forgiven, and and other people are there just simply for our amusement and at our disposal. That's a sick way of looking at the world, but unfortunately it's a very pervasive way of looking at the world, and we have to modify. And I do think in the past couple of centuries there's been tremendous strides at making that headway, and I do think we need to acknowledge that and give credit where credit is due. But man, have we got a long way to go. And we're not even close, but we're making progress, and we should be pleased with that, but never give up the struggle, never give up the fight.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Again, shout out to Erin in her absence. Love Bay, if you want to catch up on previous episodes of our program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence TV. We want to remind you again also to just remember, like, and share. Subscribe to our program via whichever social media outlet you're watching. We thank you so much for joining Suffering in Silence with Pastor Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I want to say thank you again to TYB and to Janice for letting me do what I do the way I do it for letting me be me. Love Bay. Remember, we are rising out of the ashes together. Good evening.